Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. My name is Erica and I am the Lopsided Crafter. You can find me on all the socials as the Lopsided Crafter or Lopsided Crafter. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and I also have my own website, lopsidedcrafter.com, where you can follow me for all of my latest patterns, some of which are free, some of which are not, and then blog hops and things of that nature. So, what we are going to be doing today is working on a continuous join as you go for 9 squares. I have an upcoming pattern that I am working on, and I am going to show you how I join those squares. And then in part 2, I'm going to show you how I join squares around the middle 9. So this first video is a companion video that will go with a PDF pattern coming out in the future, as well as it will go with future videos and patterns, or just a simple video to show you how to do the continuous join as you go. So without further ado, let's head to the craft table and let's start doing the continuous join as you go for 9 squares. Hello and welcome to the companion video for my granny square blanket patterns that specifically are for continuous join as you go. I want to first start off by saying I'm sorry if you hear added noise in the background. Although it is November 2nd, we still have the air on here in South Carolina. I do my best with my equipment to try to reduce the background noise, but sometimes it does seep through. So, going on from there, I wanted to take a moment and talk about the roadmap that I have created for the continuous join as you go. These do come with my patterns. I have one for right-handed and left-handed. The instructions are exactly the same except for you're working in opposite directions. So for the right-handed, you actually start on the right and go right to left, then left to right, then right to left. The left-handed is the opposite, starting on the left side and going back and forth. A little note about the different codes. Everything is written at the bottom, but I do want to take a minute to go over it with you. Green dot obviously means start, go. So you will see that they are here on both diagrams at square number 1. And then from there, and I know if you've never done continuous join as you go, this is probably going to just look like craziness and confusion. I get it. I understand. But it is a lot easier than it looks. And it's a lot easier than the instructions that are written. That's why I'm doing this companion video to go along with it. So you are basically going to start here at this green dot, and you are just going to follow your arrows. So you're going to work up, you're going to do a corner, you're going to go across, and you're going to do a corner, and then you're going to come down and go across and up and just follow. So anytime you get here on the side, if there's no arrow in your next step, that means that is not finished. Don't worry about it. You will pick it up later. So as you can see, once we have done 3, then we work across the top of these and the bottom of these to join these 2 rows together. Then you will come up the side, and then you will work down and up and down like we did here. So everything is a repeat. The only difference is when you have these pink dots, so you have them here and here, and you have them on the same place here on the left-handed. When you have those dots, that means you work a complete square. I'm sorry, a complete corner. I like to call them a floppy corner. So that basically means if you have a pink dot, you're going to make your corner the way you traditionally would, but you don't join them. So they're just kind of flopping there. The rest of the area, you would continue to do like normal. You would do your 3 half double crochet clusters, say on square number 2, and then you slip stitch to 1, cluster, slip, do a floppy corner, and so on. Now, when you get up, and again, this will make more sense when we actually start doing the pattern. But when you come up here to number 4, and all this is explained here as well, you're going to do your 3 half double crochets in this corner like you would normally do for a half corner. But then you are going to join it diagonally into this guy, your floppy corner, right? And then you're going to continue and do all the goodness. Like I said, I know this probably does not make any sense, but once you start following the video, following the written directions, and following your diagram here, I'm pretty positive it will all make sense to you. Again, these diagrams are included in any of my continuous join as you go patterns that are available on either Ravelry, Etsy, or my website. Okay. One more thing I wanted to show you is how I block my squares. Okay. Now I got this on Etsy, and I will say that the amount of pins that came with it was not enough. I did have to go back and order more of these pins. So if you're going to be doing a lot of squares, or you really enjoy making granny squares, that might be some sort of good investment for you. It is for me. I like to block all my squares so that they are all the same size. This is how I do it. I just spritz it down, line them up the way I want them, and just let it dry. If I need it right away, I put a little fan in front of it. Otherwise, it usually takes about 12 to 24 hours, depending on how saturated you get your square before putting it on here. I do like to, if you can see right here, I like to leave a little bit of room, breathing room, if you will, in between the squares so that there's airflow, and it makes it easier for the squares all to dry at the same time, so that your top square, say, is dry, but the rest of them are wet. Leaving a little bit of room here helps all of them dry pretty equally. So I actually have 2 of these boards. And I really like them. I got them on Amazon, but there are different places. I've seen them on Etsy. I've seen them on Temu. That is something that I highly suggest. Again, it's not mandatory, not needed to finish or create this pattern. It just helps to ensure that all your squares are the same size so that everything lines up correctly. Okay. Now that we went over the diagram and we have went over how I block my squares, let's get on to the pattern. Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to do a continuous join as you go for 9 granny squares. I've got them laid out in the order that I want them. starting with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. This particular pattern, I am using worsted weight yarn. I recommend, if I did not mention this yet, I do recommend that you take a picture of your squares laid out before you start putting them together. That way, if for some reason you've got to get up, or you've got children around that move things, a husband, an animal, what have you, you can refer back to your picture and know exactly where your layout was. Trust me, I've been there. So what I'm going to do is just push these 6 out of the way, because we are going to concentrate on these 3 to begin with. Now, I like to do my continuous join as I go using the half double crochet instead of double crochet. So what I'm going to do is start here, and I'm not going to do a complete corner. I am going to join with a slip stitch. I also like to do the stacked single crochet as my first stitch instead of a chain. Let me take that back out just in case you're not familiar with that. I've joined with a slip stitch. I'm going to go in and make a single crochet, and in the vertical bar here, this vertical bar right here, I am going to insert my hook back into that bar, and I'm going to pull up a stitch and then continue like a single crochet. Then I take my tail and I just kind of pull that tight, and that chain and everything kind of just lays over here to the side. So now at the end, when you go to join, you have the perfect top to a stitch instead of a chain. And I think it also makes it look better. But that's just my opinion. If you prefer to do a chain, do exactly what you like to do. If you like to do double crochets here instead of half double crochets, by all means, do what is the most comfortable for you. I just prefer the half double crochet because I think it looks better, and I think it gives it an overall neater, crisper look. So, without going into any more detail, let's continue. So we have our first stitch. I'm going to go ahead and do 2 more half double crochets. Now I'm going to do a 3 half double crochet cluster in between each of the next 3 clusters. So 1, 2, and 3. And you want to kind of try to maintain your tension just a little bit. You know, even though this is the same exact brand of yarn, the gray just seems to be a little thinner. Okay. So I'm just about over here to my corner, and for this I'm actually going to do a true corner. So we're gonna do 3 half double crochets, chain 2, 3 half double crochets. Okay, so now if you look at our square, we've done one side and we have turned the corner. We're going to work across this side do our corner and work down here, and then we are going to stop. Okay. So what makes it continuous is that you only do parts of your square at one time, and you join them all together basically at the same time, so that you only have two tails. The one you started with and the one you end with. So now we're making our 3 half double crochet clusters in between the clusters of these actual square. We're over here to our corner. So again, we're going to do 3 half double crochets, chain 2, 3 half double crochets. Now, if you're following along with the diagram, you know that we are going to continue to work down this side. So I'm going to do that off camera, and when I get back here, I will jump back on and show you what to do next. Okay, so I've got one spot left to work, and that is the corner space. But we're not going to make a complete corner. What we're going to do is just simply put 3 half double crochets in that stitch, and we are going to stop. And we are currently done for now with square number 1. Now, we still have this bottom left open. Don't worry, we will finish working that when we have them all put together and go around the entirety of the 9 squares. So now what you're going to do, let me zoom back out here a little bit. So we have our loop here. And now what we want to do is work the same thing that we did on square 1 onto square 2. So you're basically going to yarn over on your hook, and you're going to pick your square up, and in your corner space, you're going to put your hook through, and you are going to pull the loop through just like you would a normal half double crochet, yarn over and pull through. So now we are connected. So we're going to continue to do 2 more half double crochets into that stitch. So that creates 1/2 of our corner. So now what you're going to do is you're going to find the adjacent stitch from square 1. So that means right here in between your 2 clusters, you know, where you have that little space, right? So what you're going to do, let me turn this way so that you can see it a little better. What you're going to do is just simply go into that space and slip stitch. That is it. Then you're going to jump back over to square number 2, do your 3 half double crochet clusters, jump back over here to your next space, do a slip stitch, back to number 2 to do your cluster. I know once you see the video, it is so much easier to understand than the words and the diagram sometimes. Slip stitch. I like to go from the bottom. You can go through the top if you're more comfortable doing that. I like to go through the bottom. So whichever you decide you like to do, just make sure you do that consistently throughout your piece. Jump back over, do your 3 half double crochets, slip stitch back over here into square 1. Now we're to the corner. So we're 3 half double crochets, And what you would assume you would do next would be to connect into the corner. We're not going to do that, because later when we bring this other row down, we are going to connect them in a way and diagonally to make them look neater. So you're going to have some floppy open corners here. Don't worry about that. That's perfectly normal. So you have your 3 half double crochet. You're going to chain your 2, 3 more half double crochets to complete your corner. So we're going to continue to do the same thing on this square that we did on square 1. Putting 3 half double crochet clusters in between the clusters, a complete corner in our top corner, 3 half double crochet clusters down the side, and half of a corner when we get back to this side. So continue doing that around, and I will meet you back before we finish our corner. So we have worked our half corner here on square number 2. We're going to jump over here to square number 3 and do our half corner. Jump back to number 2 and slip stitch. Back to number 3 doing the half double crochet cluster, slip stitch, cluster, slip stitch, cluster, slip stitch. Then we're going to do a complete corner. But this time, instead of going around the half, 3 sides of the square, we are going to stop over here. So square number 3 will only be worked essentially on 2 sides. This side and the bottom will be worked when we do a complete round at the end. So just as a refresher, we're going to yarn over, go into that corner, pull up a loop. You have your 3 loops, and complete your half double crochet. So do your 3 half double crochets, jump over here to your square number 2, do your slip stitch. Remember, if you did them from the top, to do them on the top this side. If you did them from the bottom like I do, then continue to do it in that same manner. Jump back over to square number 3 and do your 3 half doubles. Back over to 2, do your slip stitch. Back over here to 3, do your 3 half doubles. Slip stitch. 3 half doubles. Slip stitch into that last stitch before your corner. Do a complete corner in square number 3. That's 3 half double crochets, chain 2, 3 half double crochets. And this is what we have so far. So we have squares 1 and 2 connected, and now 2 and 3 are essentially connected. We just have to finish what we're going to do to square number 3 and then move on to square number 4. So we'll continue doing our clusters across the top until we get to our next corner space. Now that we're here at our corner, we're just going to do 3 clusters and we're going to stop. And now we're going to move on to our next square. But before we do that, I am going to turn this 180 degrees so that my loop is now here on the bottom of square number 3. I'm going to bring in square number 4, and now we are going to connect it the same way that we did over here, okay? We're going to yarn over, go into that corner space there onto square number 4, and make a half double crochet. We're going to do 2 more half double crochets into that stitch. Okay. So now we're essentially going to do the same exact thing. We're going to jump up here, find our next area to do our slip stitch in, come back over here, do 3 half doubles, slip stitch, 3 half doubles, slip stitch, 3 half doubles. And we're going to do something a little different again when we get back over here to our corner space. So, come over here, do our slip stitch, do our 3 half doubles, slip stitch into square 3, 3 half doubles into square 4. We're going to repeat that. Grab myself some more yarn here. Slip stitch into 3, 3 half doubles into 4. All right. So this is what we've got so far. So now in our corner space, we are going to do 3 half double crochets, chain 1. Now, we're not going to connect right here because then you'll only be connected here and here with your other squares, but not together, if that makes any sense. So you always, when you come to a corner like this, you'll want to connect it diagonally, okay? So for this section, we're working across, and you will have this side right here not work. So on the next row, when we come back and we go around, that's when we'll connect this side and this side. It'll all make sense when you get to this next section. But for now, we have done 3 half double crochets, chained 1. Now we are going to slip stitch into the corner of the square diagonally. So for me, that is square number 2. So the slip stitch takes the place of our second chain, okay? Now we're going to pick up our next square. And we are going to do pretty much the same thing that we've been doing. We're going to yarn over, We're going to do 3 half double crochets into that corner space of square number 4. Slip stitch into your next space over here onto square number 2. Jump back over and do your 3 half doubles. Back to square number 2, doing your slip stitch. Back to your working square, 3 half doubles. Yarn. Back to square number 2 with your slip stitch. Back to your working square, 3 half doubles. Okay, so we're back over here to our corner. We're going to do the same thing that we did over here. We're going to yarn over, do half of our corner, so that's 3 half double crochets. Chain 1, slip stitch into the corner diagonally across. So in this case, it is in the corner of square number 1. Slip stitch in, grab your next square, yarn over, and start working the half of your corner there, which is now square number 6. I'm sure you guys know exactly what to do now. You're right. Slip stitch into square number 1. Back to our working square, which is number 6. 3 half double crochets. Slip stitch into square 1. 3 half double crochets in our working square. Slip stitch. 3 half double crochets. Okay. Now we're going to do something a little different here. Again, we're going to do a square, our true corner, but we are also going to join them at the same time so that it will finish this edge off as we're working. Okay. So how we do that is we do the beginning of our corner as normal, 3 half double crochets. We're going to chain 1. We're going to slip stitch into this corner space of square number 1. That slip stitch counts as our second chain. And then we are just simply going to do 3 half double crochets in that same corner space. And what that does is it makes us a nice, flat, rounded edge. Oh, and this is perfect because, oh, I did it here too. Did it here too. And I did it here. So this is a perfect time for me to show you. You always want to pull your work apart before you get too far, especially if you are working on a very huge blanket. You want to make sure that you have all of your spaces. And I missed one. I missed the last space on every single one of these squares in this row. So I'm going to pull this back out. I'm going to go back and connect those pieces. And then we will continue to do the final part, almost the final part of our 9 squares. So I'll be right back. Make sure that you check. Make sure that you didn't miss any spots like I did. Okay, now that I went back and reattached the missing spaces, you know, and if you do that, it's okay. It's okay. Just take your time, take it back out, go back and pick up your missed spots, and it's fine. Everybody does it. As you can see, I do it as well. But this is kind of what we've got right now. So if we flip this the way it laid out, this is kind of what you would have. Your bottom is pretty much done. I mean, you have a few spots that are open that will be caught up later, but you have your corners connected here and here, and you still have these floppy guys. We've done our corner here, and now what we're going to do is pretty much exactly what we did for the first row. We're going to come up, and then we're going to come down, and this is where we will connect our other square diagonally. Then we'll work up, down, connect our corner diagonally up, and then we'll stop just like we did over here, and then continue in our next round. So I hope that you see by what we have done so far that the continuous join as you go is a lot easier than it appears. This is why I like to break my designs down into sections. So you're doing small little chunks at a time instead of these long, tedious areas trying to connect a gazillion squares at one time. Small little chunks. Okay, so we've done our corner, and now what we're going to do is just simply work across the top because, well, actually, this is the side, and this is square number 6, and we want it to look identical to square number 1. So we're just going to continue to work our 3 half double crochets here up the side. We're on a side here that requires a complete corner. So we're going to do that here. We have our 3 half double crochets, chain 2, because we're not connecting it to anything yet. 3 half double crochets. Now we can flip it back the other direction, and now we'll be working this way. And then when we get over here and we finish, then we're going to flip it around again. So that way we can go on with our next layer of squares. Okay, so we are going to pretend like this row is not here. We're working on, well, at least until we get to our corners. But this is an exact repeat of this. So I know you know what to do from here. Yarn unhooked under the square here. So we're going to do our 3 half double crochets across the top. Oh, my yarn got, there we go. Three half double crochets. Again, like I said, take your time. It's not a race. Enjoy the process. We're doing a complete corner here. 3 half double crochets, chain 2, 3 half double crochets. Because remember, these corners will be flappy again like they were down here. So I know you know what to do. Go ahead and do your 3 half double crochets down the side, and I'll show you what to do when we get over here. Because remember, we're not slip stitching yet. We don't start slip stitching till we get to this square. So go ahead and do your 3 half double crochets, and when you get down here to your corner, I'll show you what to do. Okay, so we're back down here to our corner. We've done, well, I have done 3 half double crochets into this corner. We did 3 half double crochets in it on the previous round. So now what we need to do is join this floppy corner to this corner, okay? So there's 2 ways to go about doing this. You can either go across the top and slip stitch, or you can go across the bottom and slip stitch. Whichever way you decide to do it is fine. Just make sure that you do it for every other corner space the same way. So that way it matches. I tend to like to do it going under because I feel like it gives it a little bit more stability. So I'm going to go under that little diagonal that we made in the previous round. And I'm just going to go into the corner space there of that little floppy corner that we had open. And I'm just going to slip stitch them all together. Okay. So that's what you've got. Now we need to finish this corner because it only has the 3 half double crochets in it. Okay. So we're just going to jump right over here and do 3 half double crochets into our now working square. I like to call whatever square I'm working on the working square. So you see how that kind of rounded it off, connected everything, and makes it look nice, sharp, and neat. Now I know you know exactly what to do from here. So we've completed our corner. We find our next adjacent spot, and we do our slip stitch. Jump back over to our working square, do our 3 half double crochet clusters, jump back over, do a slip stitch, back to our working square, doing 3 half double crochets, slip stitch, 3 half double crochets, slip stitch into that last space right there, jump back over, do a floppy corner. So that's 3 half double crochets, chain 2, 3 half double crochets. And this is what we've got so far. So now that we've got our bottom done, we've got this square completely done because of the edging. We've got it completely connected. And now we're going to work around here, work down the side, and do the same exact thing. So go ahead, do your edging, do your floppy, work down the side. I'll meet you back over here at this corner. Okay, so we're back over here. I have done my floppy corner, work down the side. I'm down here at the next corner. I've done my 3 half double crochets. I'm going to chain 1, And again, I like to go under. So I'm going to go under the diagonal into the corner space of the square diagonally from the one I'm working on. Yarn over and slip stitch through all of those loops. And I'm going to turn it slightly just for workability. And I am going to continue to put the rest of that corner into our new square, which in this case, again, is number 4, because we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now we're just going to do the same thing that we did before. We're going to work up, do a floppy corner. We're going to work across the top, do half of a corner, and stop. Then we are going to flip our work 180 degrees and add the next 3 squares on. Okay, I'll meet you back when it is time to start working back across with our new squares. Okay, so we've worked across the up here, up the side. We have our floppy corner here, worked across the top, and now we've done a half corner, and we're going to stop. We're going to turn our work 180 degrees again so that our loop, our working loop, is here at the bottom. And we're going to join in our next square the same way that we did these. We're just going to work straight across. We're going to connect here at the diagonal. We're going to bring in our next square, work across, connect at the diagonal, and then finally bring in our third square, work across, and do a complete corner here and connect like we did right here. And then we're going to turn our work, and we're going to work around and connecting them. And then once that is done, we will be able to work around the top and the sides, and then join back down here at the bottom, and we will have our edging on every square. That is for those that like to jump ahead, that kind of already have an idea of what we're going to do and don't feel that they need any more video support. Again, if you need more or I'm going too fast, feel free to stop the video, rewind. There's a little gear. If I'm talking too fast, you can slow the video down. Whatever you need to do, this is a support video for you to learn the join as you go method. Now, if you have more than 9 squares or less than 9 squares, you still do the same concept. You would just work all the way across your 1, 2, 3, how many ever squares extra you have. Do your edging the same. Everything is still the same concept. I'm just showing you with 9 squares. It doesn't matter if it's 12, 24, or 100. The concept and the way you do it is exactly the same. But if you can master the 9 square, you can master any amount of squares. Like I said, I just like to do my patterns in smaller little chunks because I think it's easier to maintain. You don't have to worry about doing a gazillion squares with a gazillion ends at one time. If you're doing smaller batches, then you've only got like 9, 16, maybe 30 squares at a time, depending on what section you're at on a blanket, obviously. But you only have a little section at a time to have to worry about weaving in the ends on the actual square itself. Okay, here we are on the final section, at least for the 9 square patch. Again, this video will work for any continuous join as you go. You just continue to do everything that you've done in the middle until you get to your last square. Then your last square will be like the last square in the 9 patch. I hope that makes sense. So I'm sure you know what to do by now. You're going to yarn over, grab your square, which would be, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but then we come back and we work down. So we work 6, 5, 4. So this is this is actually number 9, the square number 9 that we're connecting first, because I know it's confusing. Follow your, here, let me turn this around. Let me just show you here. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so if we join in order following our diagram, then this would be 7, 8, and 9. But we turn our work, okay? We turn it 180 degrees. So now you are actually connecting number 9 to number 4. Hopefully that made a little bit more sense by doing it together that way. But we're going to continue in our same fashion as before. We're going to yarn over. We're going to put our half double crochet there in the corner. And we're going to continue and make the first half of our corner. And we are going to slip stitch into the adjacent square. Do our cluster on our working square. Slip stitch. Cluster in the working square. Slip stitch. Back to our working square. Now this next slip stitch is the one that always seems to be missed. This is the one that I miss quite often as well. You want to make sure that you slip stitch before that corner, okay? Then you go and you work your half corner. Okay. Now, what comes next? We're going to chain 1. We're slip stitching diagonally. And that is it. Okay. If you are following the written directions as well as the video at the same time, this section that we're doing is actually section B on the instructions. So you are at your diagonal part. And remember, now we are just connecting our squares across, right? So we have slip stitched over here. We're going to jump back over here and do our 3 half double crochets there in that corner. And then we are going to start slip stitching and doing our 3 half double crochet clusters across, just like we have done before. I know you guys are a pro at it by now. I can tell you that when I first, many years ago, came across this technique and the written instructions, I was like, nope, That all looks like mumble jumble jargon to me. Too many words. I cannot wrap my head around what they are saying. I will not ever do this technique. But I am happy to say that I am glad that I did sit down, take the time to learn it, because it is definitely a lot easier to do than it looks. A lot easier. So I'm back here at my corner. I've done my 3 half double crochets. I'm going to chain 1, slip stitch diagonally, grab my next square, and in this case it's my final square, and do my 3 half double crochets there. And then I'm going to slip stitch and do my half double crochets, and I will meet you back when we get here just to show you one more time how to do this area right here. Okay, remember, before you go too far, just check back behind yourself. Make sure that everything is joined the way it needs to be. I am here at my final corner, and I'm just going to turn it slightly here so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to half double crochet 3. We don't want this to be a floppy corner. We want it to be a joined corner. So I am going to chain 1. I'm going to slip stitch into the corner of our square 1 row below, just like so. And now I'm going to do 3 more half double crochet in that new working square so that we have a corner and it's connected at the same time. And now we are going to work across here. We're going to do our corner. We're going to work across here. Remember, make a floppy corner. And we're going to start joining down and up, down and up. Remember, when we get to our corners, when we have our final diagonal join. But I am sure you guys know exactly what you're doing by now. If you're following the directions, this is step C. And then our final would be step D when we get over here and we go down the side and across the bottom. Anything that doesn't already have our nice little border on it will be picked up. And the beauty is 2 tails, 1 to start and 1 to end. Ah, okay. So I will meet you back here when we do our diagonal corner. Remember, up here, these are not floppy corners because this is our last row. Okay, you will do a single, actually, you know what? Go up here, do your corner. I'll meet you right here. Okay, you are going to complete your first corner as normal. And you're going to continue to work down. Remember, the first square, there's really no slip stitches involved with the first square as you're doing your rounds. You don't really start your slip stitching until you get to this corner, and then you do that on your second, your third, your fourth, how many ever squares are in your blanket. All right. So we're going to continue to work our 3 half double crochets down the side of this first square here, which is number 7. We come down here, we do, which consists actually of the second part of our square because we already did the first part. Okay, Remember, if you have chosen to join above or below, do it however you decided. I like to do it below. Just going to slip stitch all of those. Now you're going to jump over here and you're going to finish the corner on your next square. In our case, this is square number 8. We don't have to do any chaining or anything. We're just going to jump right in there and continue to finish that corner. And that makes our nice little corner, 4-corner join there. It's secure, it's nice, it's happy. I love it. Okay. So now you're just going to continue to do what you would normally do. Your clusters, your slip stitch, cluster, slip stitch. And then when we get up here is when we do something different on this round. And so I will join you right there to show you what to do. Okay, I'm back here at the top and we are going to join our corners here the same way that we do on the sides. Okay, so I've already done the first half of my corner in that corner stitch there. So I'm going to chain 1 and I am going to slip stitch into this corner of our previous square and then jump right back into our working square and continue the rest of that corner. And now the top is joined. So now I know you know what to do. Work across, make your corner, work down, join diagonally, finish your corner on this side, work up by clusters and slip stitches, do the first half of your corner, chain 1, slip stitch into here, finish your corner, and work across. And I will meet you back over here to show you what to do to finish off our 9 square little continuous join as you go. Okay, we're back up here at the top. I've done the first part of my corner here, but before I go any further, before I join, I'm going to take this time just to go back through and make sure that everything is joined. There's no gaps. Everything looks good in our corners. Everything is connected. So I've done the first half of our corner. Again, I'm going to do a chain 1, slip stitch into that other corner of the previous square, and then continue with the corner in our working square. Now I'm going to work my way across with the clusters to the next corner space. So when you get to this corner here, if you are joining more rounds, you would just do like you've done with the previous 2. You would stop and leave the side unworked. But since this is the last square in this little 9 square area, the first part of our pattern, we are just simply going to make a complete corner so that we can come down and pick up the sides that don't have our continuous join as you go color on them. So we do our 3 half double crochet, chain 2, 3 half double crochets in that corner space. Now we're going to turn so that we can work across the top here. And this is just really simple. All we're going to be doing is putting 3 half double crochet clusters in between the 2 clusters across until we get to a corner, which is here. Okay. And I will show you what to do when we get there. It's really, really simple. But that's a bigger space that we're going to be working over. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to chain 1. We're going to come in here between the joins of our corners, and we're going to slip stitch. See, so that kind of what that does, let me zoom in here a little bit. So when we made our slip stitch, that basically brings the corner up a little bit, and we're not creating any more stitches. We're just using what we've already got. So we've done our slip stitch, and now we're going to chain 1. And now what we're going to do is work our 3 half double crochets right here in that next corner space. And it looks kind of wonky here. But it will all straighten out. See, there we go. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to continue to work in the same manner across. When you get to here, you're going to chain 1, slip stitch, chain 1, continue. And then you're going to work a true corner. You're going to turn to the same exact thing all the way across. And then you're going to join. You're going to do 3 half double crochet, chain 2, and then you're going to join with a slip stitch in your very first stitch, which for me was a standing single crochet. So go ahead and finish that, and I will be back with you in a few minutes. And there you have it. We have completed the 9 squares. Join as you go. I cut my yarn, pull that through, and looky there. 2 tails. One from where we started and one from where we finished. So you can use this technique on as many squares as you want, as many rows, any size square. Just follow the same technique of working your squares around, then across, up and down, across, up and down. And then once you get to your last bit, then you go around and complete your sides. Remember the little technique I showed you here? You do your first part of your corner, chain 1, slip stitch in the join, chain 1, and then continue your corner. But that's what it looks like on the front side. If we turn it around, it is just as neat looking on the wrong side. Thank you so much for joining me and learning this new technique, the continuous join as you go. Bye.